It's waiting, and then I turn the knob and it will actually change the intensity. So I've got a QLab template that's here, and I've got a number of different cues that I've set up just to show you this demo. Just going to settings, I'm just going to show you my workspace settings are that from a light point of view, I've just got one test light, which I've set up for a 3-channel, does do more channels, but just for simplicity, I've got a red, green, blue fitting, which is a American DJ Tripar profile plus, I think. I've got that connected to a Artnet Node 1, which is just a cheapish Artnet interface off of eBay. Quite good actually, quite robust. Like it a lot, reasonably cheap. So that's pumping out via Artnet. So that's my light that I've got. And from a settings point of view, the Artnet interface is automatic and it's using broadcast mode. So there's that. I have set up a couple of light cues. I've got a loop here, so I've got a group cue which I've turned into a loop. So it's called test loop. It goes, if I just bring it a bit smaller, just bring it over a bit, bring all of these over, there. So I've got it goes red and then waits a second and then goes green instantly, no transition time, and then waits a second and then goes blue, and then it starts the test loop again. So it'll just go round in a 1 second each colour loop. And so if I just trigger that now, you'll see that happening. Look, going different colours, going through the loop. So I'll cancel that. I've got a stop, so that stops the test loop. I've got a cue which puts all the RGB on and goes white, all colours. And then I've got green, blue, red, green, blue and off. So if I click off, it'll just switch the light off. There's a fade. So nice simple cues. The idea of a loop cue or group cue with stuff in, whether or not it loops or whether it just does some stuff, is that you can use that for a sort of set transition, particularly with things like moving heads. You can have it doing some sort of sequence, which it can do until it kind of turns off or something like that. So there we are. Now the idea is I've only got a small little MIDI keyboard here, so I've got a little Akai MPK Mini, which is just a little keyboard that I sometimes take on holiday with me. It's quite old, some of the keys are a bit naff, but it does have these little pads and buttons on it and little knobs, which is just a little generic MIDI keyboard, so it can be programmed. And I thought, well, if I wanted to tap dance a show with some preset lights, having different colours, different sequences, which I just want to be able to trigger with a button, and obviously you can get bigger MIDI interfaces with lots more buttons on them and some faders and things as well. Or it could be in a theatre and you want some faders available that you can just bring lights up, bring lights down, do some rescue stuff if you need to. Can you do that? And the answer is obviously yes, you can. So with MIDI cues. So all you need to do, there's a couple of ways you can do it. One thing I set up for in my, I think it's light patch here, you've got a button up here which is MIDI controls. So what you can do for each light is set up a button or a fader, and I've set it up actually with these 3 knobs here to actually change the intensity of each colour. So all you need to do is, obviously it's got test, which is the name of the light, and red. It brings up this bit down here, and you just need to press capture. And it's waiting, and then I turn the knob and it will actually change the intensity. And that's now captured. And I've done the same for all the others. So it's on, you know, I'm not sure which MIDI note 5, 6 and 7 or control channel 5, 6 and 7. So essentially I can do red, green and blue. So I can fade that out and it goes orangey. I can fade that out and it goes red. Or I can add in some blue to make it go a bit purpley. So quite useful, and fade it all out. So that's quite useful. So you do that with the individual colours on a light, which is quite nice. But the other thing you can do is obviously do any cue. So you could have a big palette of different lighting effects, you know, could possibly loops or just transitions or whatever you want, and you can actually trigger it with some buttons. So now I can't remember, I think the ideal thing is you probably get like a little white marker and write on it what they are, or possibly get one of the MIDI interfaces where you can actually change the, you know, pictures on it, or, you know, writing. But just any of these will actually cue. So all you do is select the cue that you want, go to triggers, and then you've got this MIDI trigger, so you need to make sure that's on. And essentially you've got the same thing. So you've got the capture button. So press that, and I'm going to do, that button is the one to do it. Now the only problem is it sets the velocity of how hard you've hit that pad. What you need to do to make it reliable is now just make that greater than 0, press return, and it saves it, so that now no matter how hard I hit it, it will trigger that, and it just makes it do the sequence. Now I'm pretty sure this button is the stop. No, it's not, it's white, so maybe that one's stop. Yeah, that one's stop. So if I press that again, it should go through my sequence, and then I've set this one up to be this button, which is the stop, and it stopped it. Yeah. You could also do a stop, and it, you know, this cue, as well as stopping it, you could have a group cue for that, which stops it and then resets a colour or turns the light completely off or whatever. So, you know, I could do that. You know, I could put a little thing in there. I can drop that into there, and then I could also open up my light dashboard. Hopefully you'll be able to see the light dashboard. If not, it's on the screen now, and I could make sure that all lights are at 0. Oops, that was not quite. And I can do a new cue in there, and that one just needs to be, so I can call that one stop. And now I can set up a new MIDI cue, which will be that button. Make sure that's greater than 0. Return. And now if I put my little loop on and then I hit this one, it should eventually will turn the light off, because I don't think I've set the transition. I think I've done the fade lights is 5 seconds. So if I change that to half a second. So now that's going to be open that. So run my loop, then hit that one, and that stops it. There we are, perfect. So obviously I've set up some others. So I think I've got white light. Yeah, I'm not sure what that one does. I think that turns everything off. I've got red, I've got green, and I've got blue. I'm not sure, no, I think I've got that one, I can turn it off. So there we are. That's quite useful, isn't it, I think? So hopefully that's a useful little video. Hopefully that's of use to you. So I may well be buying a slightly bigger Midi controller, and I may well have some lights programmed in, which if ever I need to do a sort of show where I need to sort of tap dance some QLab lights, that will make it a lot easier. Now, obviously, you could probably do this a lot more effectively on a lighting console, but if you're not if you haven't got a lighting console, you've just got QLab and a little interface, which, let's face it, would be much cheaper. Or if you just don't have the knowledge to program a lighting console, and you're more into QLab lights, then that is actually quite useful. And again, it could be that you run your lights mostly on QLab, but you want some safety lights to be able to bring up some, lights in case it all goes wrong, or something along those lines. That actually could be quite useful. So anyway, please like and subscribe, as always. The YouTube algorithm's out there, and I need, more views to get the videos out to more people. So that'd be very useful. Hope you found it useful. Make some comments on it. We usually get the comments about, QLab's rubbish at lighting and all that sort of thing. It's not really. It's quite good. Let's say, if you're into lighting consoles, you probably find it quite frustrating and a bit different, but it all depends on what you're used to. So I think the key thing is you know what you know, and you've got what you got, and it's all about making the best of it, isn't it, really? Thanks very much. See you next time.